Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Cowboys were working to get back after ACL injury. Plenty of people seem to be down on the Dallas Cowboys after their latest playoff collapse and a relatively quiet offseason, but there is no doubt they have plenty of talent. In CeeDee Lamb, they have one of the NFL's very best wide receivers, and Brandon Cooks has shown the potential to be their legitimate WR2. David Durden is hoping to get a piece of the Cowboys' pie this coming season after missing all of his rookie campaign in 2023 because of a torn ACL, and he was seen putting in work on the field, per Brandon Laurie. Durden started his college football career at Mercer University in Georgia, and after 2 years there, he transferred to the University of West Florida, where he caught 54 passes for 1,128 yards and 13 touchdowns in 2022. Dallas then signed him last offseason as an undrafted free agent. While the team has 2 bona fide threats at wide receiver, it could use a legitimate third option at that position, especially after they released Michael Gallup in mid-March. Dallas is also stacked on the defensive side of the football, where they boast Pro Bowlers Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Darren Bland, but right now their biggest weakness seems to be the running back spot. Tony Pollard did well there in 2022 by making the Pro Bowl, but he regressed a bit last season, and he left in free agency to join the Tennessee Titans this offseason. With the Philadelphia Eagles getting stronger and a number of other teams in the NFC poised to take a step forward, the Cowboys need to keep pace rather than simply standing pat. Dallas Cowboys could make run at $118 million, former Pro Bowl QB. The Dallas Cowboys have several question marks surrounding their plan at the quarterback position for the future. The Cowboys were rolling again in the 2023 regular season with Dak Prescott, but yet again, with the season on the line and legitimate expectations for a Super Bowl run, Dak and the Cowboys lost when it mattered the most. Last year truly felt different. Prescott was in the discussion for NFL MVP this season and closed out arguably the best regular season of his career. Dak Prescott closed out the 2023 regular season ranked in the top 5 in several major categories for NFL QB. He entered the playoff matchup against the Green Bay Packers with 4,516 yards, third, 36 touchdowns, first, 9 interceptions, and a QB rating of 72.5, second. Although some rolled their eyes when Jerry Jones and company decided to fire Kellen Moore at the end of last season, as he's regarded as one of the up-and-coming young and brilliant offensive minds, head coach Mike McCarthy took over play calling and the Dallas Cowboys offense looked elite for the majority of the year. Finally, Prescott and CeeDee Lamb found the perfect chemistry and emerged as arguably the top quarterback/wide receiver tandem in the league. Beyond Dak Prescott and the explosive offense that averaged 389 yards and 30 points per game and finished with 77 touchdowns in the regular season, the Dallas Cowboys had a defense that finished the season ranked 5th in the NFL. After another disappointing early exit in the playoffs, the Dallas Brass entered the offseason with more question marks than answers. While it's expected Jerry Jones and company keep Prescott for at least 2024, it's clear the organization is looking at all options now that the Cowboys have made it public they don't plan to give their franchise QB a contract extension. Instead, Jones said there's a mutual agreement for Prescott to play on the final year of his deal, an unexpected and strange move for an organization that needed to free up cap space to add new talent. With Prescott's future up in the air and the team making almost no moves so far in free agency, DallasCowboys.com's Patrick Walker pitched former Tennessee Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill as a potential option to join the QB room at the Star. The former Pro Bowler remains a free agent, and given the latest news on Prescott, this idea is worth revisiting. Here is what Walker outlined about Tannehill in a February 13, 2024 story titled, Open Market, Intriguing Free Agent QBs for Cowboys. At first glance, I felt this one might be a bit of a reach, but then I considered the fact Tannehill will be 36 years old this coming season, and I do believe his days as a starter are now behind him, Walker wrote. That doesn't mean he's incapable of being a worth backup, though, and that's why I've put him atop this list. A look at Tannehill might be worth it in the realm of possibly being a potential upgrade to Rush, while also providing insurance in the event Lance doesn't progress the way the Dallas Cowboys would like to see as they ramp up work on their developmental QB program. The fact I'm intrigued by this at all means there might be something there to consider. Tannehill would bring an impressive resume to the Dallas Cowboys as a former Pro Bowler with 151 career starts. The veteran remains without a home in free agency after completing a 4-year, $118 million deal with the Titans. Spotrac projects Tannehill's market value to be a reasonable 1-year, $4.9 million contract. Tannehill's best statistical season came in 2020 when the quarterback threw for 3,819 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, while completing 65.5% of his passes. The veteran added 266 rushing yards and 7 TDs on the ground in 2020. It's clear he would be a reliable backup for the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, and if the organization does in fact move on from Prescott at any point, he could be a bridge QB until they find an answer for the future. Cowboys pre-draft visit with big-time prospect turns heads. The Cowboys will use their first-round pick, depending on what NFL mock draft you live by, on an offensive lineman. Sure, there are some outliers who have Dallas gambling on a high-profile wide receiver or edge rusher with pick number 24, but the quality of offensive linemen in this draft and the Cowboys' need for help on the line has most pointing to the likes of Amarius Mims, Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton, or Troy Fautanu. Assuming that's where the Cowboys go in round 1, the expectation is that they'll turn to filling the glaring hole at running back with a draftee in round 2. There are no top running backs who have a chance to land in the first round, but there should be 2 or 3 taken in round 2, with the Cowboys at number 56 most likely having their pick of the litter, Michigan's Blake Corum, Texas' Jonathan Brooks, and Florida State's Trey Benson. It's Benson, who was on a 2-day visit to Dallas this week as one of the 30 pre-draft players the team is allowed to host, who is getting some attention. As NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported on Wednesday, add #FSURB Trey Benson to the list of big-time prospects visiting the #Cowboys today and tomorrow. At Bleacher Report, analyst Alex Ballantyne has Benson as the top skill position player the Cowboys need to prioritize in the upcoming draft. After losing starting running back Tony Pollard in free agency and not replacing him at all with another signing, Rico Dowdle is currently the top back on the Cowboys' depth chart. The Cowboys are sure to add one in the draft. The assumption is they'll use their second-rounder on one. And Benson might be the best of the lot, after running for 1,896 yards in 26 games over the past 2 seasons at Florida State. They don't really have the all-terrain vehicle to be the lead back in their committee, Ballantyne wrote. Even if they plan on playing multiple backs, there's usually still a lead back who will get the majority of the early down work. Trey Benson could fill that role. The 6'0", 216-pound back has the speed to break off big runs if he gets free. He showed off that speed with a 4.39 40 at the Combine, but he's more than just a speedster. Benson offers a combination of physicality, pass catching, and big play speed that should offer something that's closer to 2022 Tony Pollard than the veteran was able to bring to the table in 2023. Of course, we've seen over the years that the Cowboys have leaned into the notion that they do not need to expend hefty resources on running backs. They had an interest in bringing back Pollard, but even his 3-year, $21 million contract from the Titans was too much for them. Because of that, there's no real guarantee they will use a second-rounder on a running back either. They could be the only team picking one at that point. Why not wait until round 3 and instead try to pluck one of the excellent wide receivers in this 2024 class? Or fill the obvious need for depth at linebacker? Indeed, by the Dallas Morning News pre-draft tracker, the Cowboys have brought in 6 linebackers for visits, including the top 3 at the position: Jaron Cooper of Texas A&M, Peyton Wilson of North Carolina State and Junior Colson of Michigan. They've also brought in 6 running backs, most of whom won't go in the second round. So, while the assumption is that's where the Cowboys will turn in round 2, with Benson being a top candidate, they could wait even longer to pluck their top running back. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation of Trey Benson? Leave your opinion in the comments.